So in the first part of this lesson, we reviewed our angle information for understanding what happens when lines cross each other. So we have three things that can happen, or three things that we defined. So the first one is congruent. So when things are congruent, that means they are equal. So the symbol is this equal sign with a little squiggle. And what I can say is like the measure of angle A is equal to the measure of angle B. So angles are matched and have the same angle measures. Next one is supplementary. So when angles are supplementary, that means that they add up to 180. So the measure of angle A plus the measure of angle B equals 180. If they are complementary, then the measure of angle A plus the measure of angle B equals 90. So we discussed how can you remember the difference between complementary and supplementary, and what we're remembering is that C comes before S in the alphabet. So if we order them, then basically complementary comes first, and then complementary is associated with 90, which is smaller. So 90 comes first numerically, complementary comes first alphabetically, so complementary to 90 degrees. Supplementary comes second alphabetically, 180 comes second numerically, so supplementary to 180 degrees. So a couple of review problems. So here we have lines that cross each other. So we have two straight lines crossing each other, and they form an X, and in the middle is the vertex point. These are called vertical angles. And we should hopefully remember that what is happening is that the first angle matches the second angle. So these angles are essentially equal to each other. If we're trying to solve this problem, we then set them up equal and solve. So what I know is angle 1 is 10z minus 11, and that's got to be equal to the second angle, which is 99. Now I just need to solve this problem. So add 11 to both sides. Scroll up just a little bit. So adding 11 to both sides, I get 10z equals 110. Divide by 10 on both sides, and my final answer turns into z equals 11. So when I'm working with geometry like this, what's happening is that I am saying that I need to basically set up the problem and then solve it. So my next problem, what you want to think about on a problem like this is that I want to identify what I'm looking at. So here's the line. And I actually don't care about this part over here because there's no angles defined over in this section. So I'm looking at a line, and one of the facts I should know at this point is that any straight line angle altogether has to be 180 degrees. So this is a linear set. It is also supplementary. So the setup for this particular problem is that first angle, 3x minus 5, plus my second angle, 20, has to equal 180. Then what? Now I solve this. So 3x plus 15 equals 180. Subtract 15 from both sides. I get 3x equals, 165. Divide by 3 on both sides. So in this particular solution, x equals 55. Okay. I'm not going to do C because C and B are essentially the same problem. All right. So a couple more questions. Moving down a little bit more. So how big is the complement of a 57-degree angle? So how big is it? Complement means add to 90. So what am I trying to figure out is that 57 plus x equals 90. 57 plus some number has to equal 90. And by solving this, I should be able to figure out that x has to be 33 degrees. So why? Because 33 plus 57 equals 90. Two angles are supplementary. What does that mean? Add to 180. Okay, so I set up the same problem the same way. So what plus 152 is 180? So essentially x plus 152 equals 180. Or what plus 152 is 180. So I can figure out that x has to be 28 degrees because 28 plus 152 is 180. All right. So now we're moving on to the main part of this lesson, which is about transversals. So what are we looking at here? A transversal is a line that crosses another line. So there's a transversal. A transversal crosses two lines specifically. So there's my transversals. Okay. We have two options. First option, the lines we cross are parallel. And this is pretty much what we're going to study because this is what's interesting. Okay. Or non-parallel. If the lines are non-parallel, we can only really look at things that are essentially this group here or this group here. We can't look at them together because the angles, hopefully clearly, are not matched together. So I can say things like vertical angle. So angle 2 matches angle 4. Okay, and I can say like angle 1 matches angle 3. But I can only say that about the green set, okay? I can't pull any of the angles from the top here. So I can't pull any of these angles from the top and match them to angles on the bottom, okay? So non-parallel, we have vertical sets, which are congruent, and supplementary sets, which are not, but they don't actually match each other. So if I look at my other pairs, pretty much I know that 6 is congruent to 8. And I can say that 5 is congruent to 7. But notice I essentially have all the pairs are different. All the angles are different. Okay. So this is essentially not all that interesting. So we don't really study that, but you need to understand that there is a non-parallel set and a parallel set. So mostly we're looking at parallel because parallel turns out there's a lot of interesting things that happen. So, and also, I mean, you know, this is essentially how we deal with things like railroads and such like that. Okay, so if something happens, we can say confidently that other things are also true. All right, so we're not really looking at this, but that's the set for non-parallel. So back to parallel. Okay, what happens on parallel lines is that we have sets that match. So if I look at the same idea, here is angle 1, and it matches to angle 3, okay? And I can say, also, if I think about, like, essentially taking this line and sliding it down on top of the other line, the lines will match exactly. So angle 1 matches to angle 3, and also angle 5 and angle 7. So I can say that angle 1, angle 3, angle 5, angle 7 are congruent to each other, okay? The other set that matches is the other pairs. So 2 and 4 are vertical angles. 6 and 8 are vertical angles, okay? So angle 2, angle 4, angle 6, angle 8 are congruent. What else can I say? Well, I have a straight line here. So if I look at, for example, angle 1 and angle 4, okay, I can say that angle 1 plus angle 4 are add to 180. All right. So any of the angles from the top set, so the yellow set, so any of these angles, angles 1, 3, 5, and 7, added to any of these angles, angles 2, 4, 6, and 8, will add up to 180. So 1 and 4 add to 180. Angle 4 plus angle 5 add to 180. All right. So that is this set here, angle 4 and 5. All right. So when we have parallel lines, essentially any pair of angles. So one of the things we want to know, parallel lines, any pair are either congruent or supplementary. All right. So either congruent or supplementary. Then additionally, we name them. Okay. So we have two sets of things we're looking at. We have interior. Are you inside the parallel lines? Or you have exterior. Are you outside the parallel lines? Okay. Then we have the idea of alternate. Actually, let's start with same side. These angles, 1, 4, 5, and 8, these are all same side angles. Okay. If we're alternate, then essentially we need to cross over. So 8 is essentially alternate to the set over here. So if you're picking your pair and you're an alternate pair, okay? So you have to have, essentially you use one of each term to define a pair. Okay? Alternate are congruent. So if I have alternate interior, this is a congruent set. So anything that crosses over is a congruent set. So for example, alternate interior. So I'm looking for alternate interior. Okay, so I'm going to look just for alternate interior angles. What would an alternate interior pair be? Well, interior, so pick one. So if I have 5, and that's an interior angle, then essentially I can cross over, and 3 would be my alternate interior set. Okay, the other set would be 6 to 4. Alternate interior angles are congruent. So 4 and 6 are congruent, 3 and 5 are congruent. I could also say alternate exterior. Okay, alternate exterior angles are congruent. So 8 is exterior, and it is alternate all the way up to 2. So I need exterior angles. So I'm looking at exterior here. Okay, that pair is congruent. There's another pair that is also congruent. That would be 7, which is the other exterior pair, up to angle 1. Okay, these pairs are the congruent pairs. They cross over and they match. How can we tell? Well, 1 matches to 3 because they're vertical. 3 matches to 7. These are in the same place. If they're in the same place, so 3 is in the bottom left, so it's down here, and notice 7 is in the same place. So basically 3 and 7 are in the same location. This is called corresponding. Okay, so that is that. Now, if you have the other choice is, hopefully, obviously, the other choice is same side. So if I have the same side pair, then they're supplementary. Okay, so let's look at a same side pair. Same side. 5 is on the same side as 4. So same, what am I saying over here? These are same side interior. Same idea, same side exterior pair. Okay. Let's add that alternate interior there. Anyway, so, okay, why is that so? Well, if I look at 4, 4 is matched to 8. And then if I look at that, okay, 4 and 8 are the same because of the parallel set. 5 and 8 are on a line, so they are adding up to 180. And that's essentially how this works, okay? So now we're going to go back to the actual notes and add some things. So a transversal is a line that crosses over. And when you cross over, essentially you get 8 angles, always. So this is what you get. You always get a set of angles. If the lines are parallel, then you have some interesting things that happens. Okay? So here we are going to fill this out. Corresponding angles. Corresponding angles. Angles in the same location on your lines. Okay? Couple of choices here for this. So location, so 1, that's the same location set. Okay, there's actually 4 pairs of corresponding sets. So we'll name this like angle 1 and angle 5. Okay, if their lines are parallel, then they are congruent. So angle 1 congruent to angle 5. this is what happens for corresponding. Next, alternate exterior angles. Angles across the lines and outside. Okay, so we are again. Two parallel lines, one transversal. Where are these angles? We pick that angle, then we need to move all the way down to the opposite side on the outside. Okay, these angles are congruent. Congruent. Angle 1, congruent to angle 8. Alternate exterior. Alternate interior. Angles across the lines. Actually, I should say transversal there, being more accurate. Across the transversal. Across transversal. Inside. So where are they? They are here. Oops, not there. Inside. So if I pick this angle, there's my opposite internal alternate interior angle. Angle 1, see, angle 4 and 6. Angle 4 is congruent to angle 6. Okay, they are congruent. And then last, same side interior, angles inside, same side. Okay. So let's say those two, same side inside, okay. 4 and 5. These are supplementary. So angle 4 plus angle 5, should put a measure on there, equals 180. Okay. So pairs on parallel lines, you have two choices. 1, they are the same. 2, they're supplementary. All right, so pairs in our diagram, corresponding, same location. What's in the same location? 1 and 5, upper left. 3 and 7, lower left. 2 and 6, both in the upper right on the parallel lines. 4 and 8, lower right on the parallel lines. Alternate exterior angles. 1 is exterior on the left top. 8, alternate exterior bottom right. So 1 on the left, 1 on the right. Second pair, 2 on the outside on the right. Sorry, yes. And then 7 on the outside on the bottom left. Alternate interior. 3 to 6 across and inside. 4 and 5 across and inside. So all of these 3 sets are congruent sets. Same side interior, 3 and 5 inside and on the same side. 4 and 6 inside and on the same side. Also same side exterior. That would be 1 on the outside on the left, 7 also on the outside on the bottom left, 2 and 8. These sets are supplementary. They add to 180. So what's the last thing we want to be able to do with these types of angles? It's basically use this information to solve problems, set up and solve problems, okay? So we need to know, are we looking at stuff that's supplementary, stuff that's congruent? For parallel lines, that's it. You don't have any other choices. So what am I looking at? All right, where am I? So here I am, and these are alternate interior. So alternate interior, that means angle 1 is congruent to 64. So measure of angle 1 equals 64 degrees, and that would be my answer. Let's look at the next pair. I have 1 and I have 78. Same side interior. Same side interior. Well, what are same side interior? They are adding to 180. So what I know now, measure of angle 1 plus 78 has to equal 180. So when I solve that, what happens is measure of angle 1 then has to equal 102 because I need them to add to 180 degrees. So the basic first step, you've got to identify your pair, then solve. Okay, last part. We have something more complex now, okay? So let's see what we have. The angle, first angle we're given is this angle. Second angle is this angle. I should see these are both in the bottom left of their parallel lines. So what do I know? Then that these are corresponding. By the way, I know the lines are parallel because I've got this symbol here. So if there's an extra arrow on the lines, that's your symbol on your lines to show that they are parallel, okay? So if they're corresponding, what does that mean? Oh, hey, that means that they're the same, okay? They are congruent. So what's the setup of my problem? I know that 7x minus 5 has to be exactly equal to 65, and then I solve that. Add 5, 7x equals 70, divide by 7, x equals 10. So now I've solved my problem and for my variable. So I've used my properties to set up the problem, and then I solve the problem. Next problem. I have 142, and I have x minus 11. So I'm highlighting these separately because they're same side interior. So what's my rule? Same, that's my type. They're on the same side of the transversal. They're on the inside. So my pair is same side interior angles, and they are supplementary. So what I know now is that x minus 11 plus the 142 has to equal 180. So add those together, minus 11 plus 142, x plus 131 equals 180. Subtract the 131, x equals 49. So identify your pair. What is the relationship for parallel lines? Parallel because I've got this extra arrow. Parallel lines, they're going to either have to be congruent or supplementary, then set up and solve the problem. And that's basically how you solve problems with parallel lines.